Podcast excellence since 2005. This is the King of Podcasts radio network. KingofPodcasts.com.
So you're telling me we're going to get a bunch of title matches at WrestleMania 41 and triple threats?
Woo! Hey, this is the Nature Boy Ric Flair. And believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it. Because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
The worldwide leader of podcasting excellence, the King of Podcasts Radio Network proudly presents The Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
I'm sure some of you podcasters out there have this thing where you try to go and work with some equipment, and the arm that you want to use for your microphone, it's like, you know, kind of flimsy. You got to like have this what's the word I'm looking for? What is the word I'm looking for? This whole, like, you know, setup, a mousetrap, basically. You got to have this thing set up and try to keep the microphone to stay somewhere close to your mouth. But yet the thing doesn't want to really, like, move around or be very flexible. It's like, you know, contraption. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah. And the thing is, I decided to go and get rid of any of the contraptions I had to hold the microphone. I just threw them out today. Threw them in the garbage. Done. Because I did get one from the TikTok shop. One of those Vivor microphone arms that you just can't do anything with. Yeah, I'm done with that. And then the other thing was, I've had a couple of those boom arms that were like, one was heavier, I bought from Amazon. The other one I bought from Guitar Center. You know, it's the stuff like you put guitars and drums and stuff like. And it's not working either. So I tossed it all out. I'm finding something else. I was supposed to get on Amazon today. It didn't show up. But anyways, I'm holding the microphone right now, which I haven't done in a long time. I don't even remember when the last time I did it. But yeah, I got to hold this thing today for just this episode. Now, hopefully for my Broadcasters podcast tomorrow, I'll have everything else back. I got a little desktop number I'm going to put on this studio, which will hopefully be much better and much cleaner. Because the other thing, too, is I was tired of having all the wires all around. But anyway, that's another story for another day. So there's a lot of things going on in terms of the storylines for WrestleMania 41 and what they have decided to go and do to set things up for it. And I always feel like that, even though yesterday NXT had Roadblock, and that's supposed to be something to kind of like just detract from everything. Oh, look, it's Obafemi and Moose. Oh, look, Stephanie Vaquer wins both now North American title and the NXT Women's title. Oh, wow. Like, it's this thing where, like, okay, these titles on her are not going to mean anything when you move her up to the main roster because they're going to struggle to get her over. Obafemi probably will have a struggle to get him over, too. And maybe he'll do better. But they still got Roxanne Perez down there. She hasn't moved up. Trick Williams has not moved up. And they got a bunch of other stars in NXT that have not done anything else lately. So they just kind of just brought in some other players, and they're doing what they want, and nothing has really changed much yet. But we look at what they were doing now on television. Cody Rhodes has had a couple of promos to kind of continue the momentum of the John Cena heel turn, which they have not done anything else with since Elimination Chamber. 11 days now we record this program. So then we got that. Now you got Randy Orton and Kevin Owens all set up. And Randy Orton has a long promo on SmackDown to go and set that up. So like the setup for these matches we're going to have, some of these one-on-one matches we're going to get. We get that part. Then you have the whole triangle with Bianca Belair, Naomi, and Jade Cargill. And Naomi and Bianca, who were only like tag teamers for like a little while. It was only for a short time after Jade Cargill was injured. But they took the injury and said, okay, Naomi's the one that injured Jade, and now they're going to go ahead and she's going to become heel, I guess. And Jade comes out pissed. Good. This level of Jade Cargill that she should be. She's not the nice Jade Cargill. Come on. She's got a mean side to her. She's got a tough side to her. It's time to really see that come out of her. Hopefully we get that in this feud right now. Meanwhile, Bianca Belair is more concerned about dealing with Io Sky, and now we have Rhea Ripley now interjecting herself. And now it looks like Io Sky is going to take both of them on. You know? I don't know. It's just something like that. And don't get me wrong. Naomi and Bianca Belair did really well together. That storyline looks pretty good. That's not bad. But it's also based off of not that long of time together, I wouldn't imagine, because you're not like really seeing where Naomi and Bianca Belair had a whole lot of, connection with themselves before they became a tag team. Am I right? Because I don't remember seeing them together where there could be that kind of real closeness, but they're making it like that anyway. And they still have to have, now, Braun Strowman being the one dealing with the bloodline when it comes to Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa. I hate it. LA Knight wins back the U.S. title, and that's going to matter what? Anyways. Just don't care about that either. So it looks like we're going to get Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest. That'll be another setup for another match that they'll do, I guess, throughout SmackDown for the foreseeable future and set that up. And the other word we're hearing about is what? Shinsuke Nakamura, who came in as champion, drops the belt to LA Knight because Nakamura is most likely on the way out. That's it. Looks like what they're going to do. And that's it. I mean, LA Knight gets back this and I don't know what they're going to do with it, but hey, the U.S. title means nothing. It's just a prop like it was before. It has always been. See, the other thing too is that everybody kept thinking about, Triple H is going to make these titles so important. They're not. Same thing as before. Made you feel like it was going to be for a little while, but it's not. Not even close. We're just back to the way it was. Pretty much. And then you have the matches that are in between just to fill time. In a 3-hour show, you got 6 matches. And I'm like, okay, Tiffany Stratton and Piper Niven, but then you also have Charlotte Flair that's going to be involved in all this. And yeah, the whole deal with Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton is flat. And the other thing is that Tiffany Stratton keeps going flat every time Charlotte Flair just gets the upper hand. So it's just heel over, heel over, heel over. And then we're going to get the turn? We're going to get, Tiffany Stratton's going to retain? I don't know. Doesn't feel like it's going to be. Then you go into Raw this past week, and we get the steel cage match with Seth Rollins and CM Punk. Now they add Roman Reigns to the mix as almost like an afterthought. When has Roman Reigns been an afterthought? I mean, since the Thunderdome days. Why are you making Roman Reigns such an afterthought now? You don't set him up in a feud at all. Like, he has done nothing to do since Survivor Series, basically. Because then everything else that was going on in terms of post-Survivor Series was with everybody else. That's Kevin Owens, that's Cody Rhodes, that's Sami Zayn. Everybody else had something to do. Except for Roman. And Roman's just sitting back there like, okay, he gets his revenge on the bloodline, and that's it. What are we doing with Roman Reigns? I mean, is it because he's got the light contract and then he doesn't have to go and make that many dates? But you're telling me that, as a part-timer, that guy's not getting the kind of level of epic, work to be done with, much like John Cena right now going to go up against Cody Rhodes. Like, what are we doing with Roman Reigns? Why are we just sitting back here and doing nothing here with him? The head of the company, he was the head of the table, the biggest name there is. Now he's over with the crowd. Of course, he's the OTC, all that guy, right? But what's the WrestleMania build for him? No, I get it. Okay, Roman Reigns with Seth Rollins. Yeah, there's a story that should have been, and that's the match you should have had this year. Listen, I know that everybody wants to have CM Punk and Seth Rollins, and that should have happened last year, but for the injury. The problem is that now we're going to probably see a triple threat because CM Punk's going to be involved in this. Because they got to have him doing something as well. And I just don't care about that. We could just get CM Punk doing something else. I would have preferred him to going up against Logan Paul. And I thought they were going to set up that because Logan Paul hasn't been set up with anything yet. What are you doing with him? So I want to figure out all this right here. Where's Logan Punk going to be involved in all this? It's going to be Logan Paul, excuse me. CM Punk now being wedged into a triple threat with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins when Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins have more than a history with each other. And I don't get what they're going to do there. But the Bloodline were together, I guess, the one time at Survivor Series, then they split up. But now that Roman Reigns is back to his own, he's a face, and he's not really doing much of anything, but he does get his comeuppance on Seth Rollins and on CM Punk. For whatever reason, he battered both down. Now we have to figure out why. We'll find that out next week, I guess. But the problem is, now you're setting this up, and Roman Reigns should have been dealt with something much more important. I don't know what that's supposed to be. look, if you don't want to have Roman Reigns going to wrestle, if you don't have a match for him, get him involved in the corporation storyline with The Rock and John Cena. Why aren't you putting him in there? Why is The Rock not trying to indoctrinate Roman Reigns into the mix? Or have Roman Reigns come in as like some kind of an apostle to The Rock, being the devil or whatever. Like, what's going on here? Why don't we have that part? And then also just bring Paul Heyman to the mix. Why can't we have him in there too? That would make sense right now. Those three part of this corporation. But we're not doing that. There could be a lot more thinking to make this even more epic. I mean, you could have it where then both nights you have things where Roman Reigns has to take on somebody in the faction of the corporation. This new corporation being built out. You'd have both nights built out with main events. Because right now, besides Cody Rhodes and John Cena, what's the other match is going to be the build-up for the main event of night one? Because we know Cody and John's, that's night two. Pretty obvious of that. So what are we doing with night one? What's the plan for it? I want to figure that out. I don't think we have an answer for that yet, but I'd like to go know what that is. We also don't have other matches announced yet. Not necessarily. We need to get that built up. Now, we know there's other matches being set up right now, but not been finalized. We have heard nothing yet of Randy Orton and Kevin Owens finalizing. Nothing about CM Punk, Seth Rollins finalizing. With now Roman Reigns into the mix. Naomi J. Cargill, we haven't gotten that finalized. Or if Rhea Ripley's going to be embedded into the Io Sky Bianca Belair match, finalized. We need all this to be done. So having matches on SmackDown like Pretty Deadly against Motor Machine Guns and Los Garza, or Chelsea Green against Michi in a street fight for the U.S. title. Yeah, we need some of the things. And Tiffany Stratton against Piper Niven. We need something else to be going on. You have time to build storylines. You got 5.5 hours, 6 hours if you want. I mean, you got endless time on Netflix. What are you doing here? Why are we not building up and getting the rest of WrestleMania done here? You only got 4 weeks left. It's time to get things all wrapped up here. Let's get everything into a bow. Let's get some storylines built up. How about some heat? We don't have heat in some of these matches. Some do, but we haven't even got the matches set up. What are we waiting for the last second for? I mean, is it because you think, Vegas, I guess we're selling out WrestleMania because it's Vegas. We're not going to have to worry about tickets. So, but what about the rest of the people? I mean, don't you want to go and have a show that's going to be built up and done? I don't know. I'd like to go and see that it's going on right now, but it hasn't happened yet. I'd like to be able to see something done. Jey Uso with a featured match because he's going to be set up with Gunther for the World Heavyweight title match. So they got that, and they have him coming out afterwards to go after Jey Uso. Logan Paul dressing AJ Styles. So that's the thing. AJ Styles, I guess, is going to go and deal with Logan Paul. I don't know. Maybe it is. But that's fine with me. I don't mind that at all. New Day LWO, don't care. Don't care. But these are kind of things that are still building up on. And, the very juvenile, delusional fan base will be all over it and enjoy it. But I don't. It doesn't matter. We got WrestleMania to book. What are we waiting for? Judgment Day Clubhouse. Now there's being a lot of things said about, there's going to be some changes here because it looks like we're going to get some changes where we might see some shake-up of the Judgment Day. We've heard that, but we don't want anything about that. Braun Breaker has no match yet. Nothing. And what are we waiting for there? Then you have the Intercontinental Women's title match. And Bayley is being put part of this right now with Raquel Rodriguez and Bayley. And Bayley's now has been demoted to the IC title. Horrible. Which we already know that there's obviously the women that have been around long enough and that just been around doing things. Alexa Bliss, Bayley. Yeah, you know what? They are not important. They're not relevant right now. The only one that does get some relevancy for whatever reason is Naomi out of that group. No Natalya. Nope. All the others are kind of just all by the wayside. Chad Gable now has a lucha mask. That's the one thing they got out of that because Chad Gable was trying to find himself as his inner luchador. Okay. Isn't this just going to be another novelty gimmick for him? Outside of American Made, outside of the Wyatt Six and everything else? Like, that's another thing. We're seeing a lot of things where we're seeing certain stars come and go, and like certain storylines and ideas they have also come and go. The Final Testament, Karrion Kross, and they just disappear. YS6 disappear. There's really just a hodgepodge of storylines that just come and go, and the continuity's gone. Like, just throw that out the window as well. I don't know. A lot of it was being said about Seth Rollins, CM Punk, the steel cage match. Sure, really good match, pay-per-view quality, but I mean, the crowd was into it. But it's like, you're giving away this match. Like, okay, for what? I mean, I thought we were going to go to this match and lead up to it, but I guess they put this match out here, give it out to people for Madison Square Garden, and then here we go. Roman Reigns comes out to go and attack. That's it. But there's so much more we're waiting for right now to be done. Storylines are all over the place. We have matches, we have feuds that might be put together, but not everything's tied into a bow. It's very unclear. It's a mess. Aside from the predetermined title matches, we already know because of Elimination Chamber and because of the Royal Rumble, and who were already champions at the time, we already know where things are at. I mean, yeah, there was a big thing where Io Sky did win the women's title, and now she's the one that replaces Rhea Ripley in that match, but Rhea Ripley's going to find her way back in. Okay? But this all needs to get cleared up. We need to go ahead and finalize things. It would be nice just to have the WrestleMania card all set up and ready to go. And then we can start figuring out what nights and get the 2-night event set to go. I think the people in Las Vegas, you might sell out the place, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that go to this event that are going to get comps. Okay? You're going to have some Vegas wheeler dealers. There are going to be some gamblers out there. And if they want to go, they want to know what night was going to have what. So maybe have that set up in the next couple of weeks. Maybe have that set before April. Like, a couple weeks before we get to the event. I'd like to see that happen. Maybe we can get to that and move somewhere with it. But I digress. I want to talk about a story that came from the Hollywood Reporter, because Paul Heyman talked to them and had a featured interview with them. And there was a lot that he said in this. And one of the things I want to really talk about was his thoughts on the storylines and how the company is going. So I want to go and bring this up. I think there's a lot that we could really take into it. And so the story is the WWE is entering a new era with Netflix. Paul Heyman wants to embrace a change. So Paul Heyman's happy to not have Vince McMahon to be able to dealing with under. And I guess, he's not necessarily in any direction of all the storylines, but he's handling storylines of his own. He says he's ready to leverage social media and the scale of Netflix to take his storylines to the next level. Before I say anything else, let's just go ahead and go back to last year's WrestleMania. Remember the last 5 minutes of that event and all the things that happened during that Cody Rhodes-Roman Reigns match to lead up to the finish where Cody Rhodes was able to win the championship. We can go ahead and criticize, we can go ahead and we can comment, and we can debate all we want on how Cody Rhodes was handled all year long. But here, at this point, regardless of what he was put through and what he didn't do and what he was dealing with in terms of matches or in terms of storylines, regardless, he's back here at this point. He's at a pretty good level in terms of being champion, and the storyline they have set up for him with John Cena is great. Let's make that point clear. That is the one thing they got right now absolutely right. But they're not going to continue to go and go along with it. They're going to make us wait. So getting us back to that point really makes it where at least we're not going to have a complete drop off on the main event compared to last year. That's good. So now they go back and talk about the fact that with the first match on Netflix, Roman Reigns, 6-time former WWE champion and former founder of the Bloodline, had been banished from the faction he had founded, with his rival Solo Sikoa assuming control. And then he wins the match and everything's all said and done. Now, in the story, they talk about the fact that making the WWE relevant to young audiences is an obsession for the company, per multiple industry sources. It's a dynamic similar to professional sports leagues. Cash from TV and streaming deals are great. Is great. But if what you produce doesn't matter to the next generation, there is an expiration date. It's in that context that the decision to have Heyman, by his own admission, not a spring chicken, be a centerpiece of the upcoming WWE 2K25 video game, all the more surprising. So here's where Heyman comes in. And this is the whole thought process of the younger audience. Well, let me tell you this right now. For me as a wrestling show, I see that my audience is not skewing younger. I have some younger listeners, but it's still quite older because they know that my talk is like, still has a little bit of nostalgia in it. Still has a little bit of my thinking is not WWE centric because of course I'm just wrestling centric in general. And the thing is that I can tell you, if you try to get a demographic pool of the audience right now for SmackDown on Raw or SmackDown on Netflix or USA, it's going to be older because even EAW has an older audience as well. There are younger viewers, absolutely, the ones that are content creators that might get a little bit too much attention. The social media folks right now, the juvenile delusional fan base on social media could also be very much younger, sure. And those podcasters, dirt sheet writers, and commentators that are also young in some cases and might also be targeting towards the younger audience to go ahead and bring up things and talk. So Heyman talks about this right here. Says, quote, I transcend the boundaries of demographics because I'm blessed enough to be able to appeal cradle to grave. And that's because that's always been my goal. That's because that's WWE's goal in demographics. The goal is cradle to grave. They call Paul Heyman a John Williams of the WWE, right? Just as John Williams' music can make Darth Vader that much more ominous or Luke Skywalker that much more heroic with subtle scoring notes, Heyman's job on the mic is to make the good guys look good that much better or the bad guys that much more evil. And do so in a way that explains the storyline for viewers at home. We all know this. Okay, moving along. They go a lot into the history of the company and all they're doing. So Heyman's been coaching up Braun Breaker, who was an NXT brand before moving to the main roster. And he says, well, Paul Levesque is actually saying about Braun Breaker that Paul is spending a lot of time with him to develop his promos, help develop his character, help him push in a direction. And then Paul talks to me, talks to the writers about where do we want to go take that. And then there's a conduit for where we want to go with that talent. Okay, we might be coaching him up, but they got nothing for Braun Breaker. Nothing. I don't even know who he's been dealing with right now as of late. They just got him. They talk about the whole tribal chief gimmick and the whole thing with the bloodline. I'm going to move on to that. They go on to talk about the creators on TikTok and YouTube posting reaction videos every week. Amateur sleuths dissecting backstage scenes for clues about upcoming storylines or character developments. Heyman says, quote, I openly invite Easter eggs and conspiracy theorists in every scene that we do, and we intentionally drop them in there so that people pick up on it and then develop their own conspiracy theories as to which way the story can go. Yeah, create a story, right. And we hear a lot about that from the juvenile delusional audience about the fact that they see these Easter eggs and they talk about it. Okay, Paul, but I mean, sure, you might have these things right here kind of embedded in to get people to go ahead and start talking, but like, we don't want the audience to create the story. How about you create the story for us? We should just follow the narrative and then the debate on it. But we don't need the audience to go ahead and give the input on it. I think I would trust your judgment on some of the booking you've done in ECW and in WWE in your time. So let's just go with that. We don't need the audience to be that much into it. And then he goes on and gives the comparison of what's the difference between a Travis Scott concert and a Frank Sinatra concert. There are certain things that don't change, right? You're still performing in front of screaming fans. You're still performing in front of people who pay to see you do what you do better than anybody else on the face of the planet. In that regard, it's still the same. However, we now have to offer more. We now have to offer those performances from the couch and bring that soap opera to play out. Sometimes it's all physical, so it's very Shakespeare, and sometimes it's all words. Paul, this sounds really good, but are you sure we're seeing the same thing? Because I don't really feel like that kind of theater is going on in the ring or backstage or anything they're doing right now in many of the storylines. Some of the major storylines that you're probably focused on, I probably, but not really that much. And that's kind of the contradictory stuff that I saw that he said that kind of got me off in the wrong direction. But I don't know. I see it that way. And I don't think they're making the right direction on this and showing me they're going to go otherwise. Just saying. All right. I want to go into one of the stories that I think is very important because I think it's very integral as to what's going on with them. I mean, I can bring up AEW if I want to right now and make mention of what they did on Dynamite tonight where they're setting things up. So now they have a Dynasty tournament to set up for who's going to be the next number one contender for the International Championship. That's fine. That's okay. So Kenny Omega is going to lake for his opponent. And they got Dynasty coming up in less than 4 weeks. So they're setting up for that. No problem with that. Speedball Mike Bailey makes his debut with the company and wins his first match and will advance in the International Championship Tournament. So didn't we hear something about like some prediction who was going to be coming in and win his first match? I forget what it was all about. I don't remember. Thought I saw something in there. And then we have a confrontation with MVP and MJF. And MJF is being recruited by the Hurt Syndicate. And I want to analyze that storyline to see what they're kind of going with and seeing if that sounds like something very interesting. So we'll go ahead and play back this real quick with MJF and MVP.
MVP. MJF.
Now, I do remember these guys working together in MLW. So there is a history back with that. And I guess something's being brought into that. They didn't make mention of that exactly, but they did say something here. But I am curious to see what they're going with the storyline because with MJF, he's still going to deal with Adam Page. There's still some animosity with them. But yeah, I want to see what this storyline is going to be right here with MVP and MJF. But the setup, here we go.
Wow. How the hell you been, man? What are you doing out here, dude?
Man, listen, obviously, I've been doing magnificently well, but I came out here to talk to you. I got a few things I want to tell you. No, I'm proud of them. Yeah. Look. You're not the same bright-eyed, bushy-tailed 18-year-old kid I met, what was that, 8 years ago now? Yeah. They don't know about that, right?
Can I tell you guys about my history with Maxwell Jacob Friedman?
I'll admit I kind of missed this part, but I caught the back end of it.
When young Maxwell Jacob Friedman was 18 years old, he once volunteered to drive me to a documentary film about HR from Bad Brains. I was in Philly. It was in Asbury Park. It was the whole thing. But he, MJF, volunteered to drive me for the low price of being able to sit next to me and ask questions about the professional wrestling business. And what impressed me wasn't that he was asking questions. It was the questions that he asked. His intelligence early on showed me that this was a kid to be reckoned with and that I would see him around. And then not long after that, what was it? It was an indie company in South Florida where we got to meet again. And on such a small stage, I saw that you had, what do you guys say nowadays? Huge aura. I knew then that you were going to be a star.
MLW,
that's why I was so
South
eager
Florida.
to work with you. That's why I was so happy to share my knowledge with you, because you had a certain intuition and temerity that you can't teach. But what I love.
Now, let's move along a little bit further into where they go on here, because there's the animosity that comes up now soon enough.
Is what happened to you on Sunday.
Here we go, the Revolution storyline, and now where we get MVP here.
What are you doing, man? Why are you out here talking to these people about what happened to you? Some would say whining to these people about what happened to you on Sunday. Max, how come you're not angry? How come you're not kicking people? How come you're not smashing things, punching people in the face? Max, how come you're not hurting people? You see, I know the answer to that question. The answer is that you have lost your edge. You. The boys in the back, look how they treat you. Look how they talk. They don't respect you anymore, man. And even worse, they don't fear you. But you know who they do fear? They fear the Hurt Syndicate. And that, my friend, is what you were missing. See, I was able to help you once a long time ago, and perhaps, just perhaps, I might be able to help you again. You see, when I first showed up here, when I was handing out this card, it was more a matter of me trying to introduce myself to people. But that's changed, because now everybody understands that where MVP and the Hurt Syndicate go,
championships go as well. This card is not just a business card, it's a golden ticket. It's an opportunity to change your career. So maybe young Maxwell Jacob Friedman, it's time for you and I to talk some business.
Whoa.
With all due respect, as you know, it is a very short list of people that I do respect in this sport, and you're one of them. However, I'm not the same bright-eyed, bushy-tailed kid I was all those years ago. With all due respect, I don't need your help, and I damn sure don't need your advice. I'm MJF! And whether these morons want to hear it or not, I was the world champion for 406 consecutive days.
Focus on the word was.
I like it. I know people are going to be like, why is he going to go ahead and attach himself to the Hurt Business? But again, in his career, Inner Circle, the Pinnacle, yeah, it's just what he does. He always has himself kind of in a leadership role like that. But I don't have a problem with that either. Now, aside from that, you have Konosuke Takeshita getting his heat back. And Billy Starks is going to go and face up with Mercedes Moné. So another opponent for Mercedes Moné. She's doing fine. No problem with her. Will Ospreay wants to go ahead and get himself into the world title match at All In Texas. So whatever happens with Cope, Swerve Strickland, or John Moxley, he wants to be involved. He wants to be in there somewhere. Jay White addresses Ospreay. So he's got him to go and deal with. And so far, they're setting things up. They got to go and build some more things coming up anyway and see what's going to happen with that. But either way, that's what's going on with AEW. As for Major League Wrestling, and I was watching Elimination Games. I caught half of it last night. I love when they put those shows up on a YouTube channel. Well, Paul Walter Hauser, who was in a featured match on Elimination Games where he bashed his head against a barricade as he fell out of the ring. God, it didn't look good. Paul Walter Hauser. So you might remember him. He was the Richard Jewell character, Richard Jewell, and he's been a bunch of other movies. And he is signed up, and he's been working with MLW for a while now. He's now an executive producer on MLW, and he is now signed with Artists First. So let's go into this. He's an Emmy Award-winning actor and wrestler now, and his management company, Artists First, is going to be representing MLW with the goal of securing television and streaming distribution deals as well as brand licensing partnerships. So another company is going to try to come in here to kind of help MLW move their way up. So right now, they've been putting their content up there on the YouTube channel. They had it on BN Sports. They've had it in other places. So they're just kind of getting themselves, they just need a better platform to be on. But their content's very good so far. Because the events have been holding up, have been very good. They got quite a few names on that roster that are really fun to watch. Matthew Justice is good. Intimidation Games, excuse me. I said Elimination Games, didn't I? You can have Alex Kane out there. Donovan Dijak has now joined the company. Matt Riddle's out there as champion. You got the Rogue Horsemen with the Andersons. Brett Ryan Gossum's out there with Bobby Fish. All that's really good. I like that stuff. And the House of Duran, the whole deal with Selena Duranta, now that she's been engaged. Eric Bischoff is part of this now. You got Kushida out there. You got Kenta. There's all a lot of stuff. You got the Contra Unit out there as well. There's a lot of good stuff out to go and watch. Tom Lawler. There's some good talent out there to go and watch. So love all that so far. Great. But more into the story about MLW is that Paul Walter Hauser says, quote, I've been a lifelong fan of professional wrestling. MLW represents everything I love about the sport. I'm thrilled to join them as an executive producer. Looking forward to working alongside the team to bring the best possible experience to fans. And we'll see what goes on with that. Anything to go and get MLW back on the map, because I still think that's the one company that is still, they're ambitious. And I feel like they're the one company out there that's most upside to elevate. NWA is doing their thing, but it's like, okay, it's still a work in progress for Billy Corgan to get the territory system to go on, get up, and to also get his show out there, because both NWA Powered right now is exclusively on X, and they're trying to build that up there. And the same thing goes for MLW going up on YouTube. They're just trying to find their audience and just continue to move forward. And they've struggled to not have a good platform for themselves to be consistently out there and be seen. So they're working on it. And I hope they're going to see more of it. Let's just see what goes on after all that. So anyway, I want to be able to go and do the show next week without having to hold this microphone, because it does get a little bit tiring to go and do this. But I did it anyway for all of you folks, because I'm sacrificing in that respect. I should have a microphone stand over here back to my left, so I can go ahead and continue to just dig through storylines and dig through headlines and all this other stuff as we go ahead and come back. And, again, if you didn't get a chance to go and catch it, make sure to go and listen to my recap of AEW Revolution right here at kingofpodcasts.com. You can go and find it right here. And, of course, all my other content, past episodes, go right there to the website. And also look for clips out there. I'm finally back on Facebook, finally back on Instagram. Instagram I'm now under at Podcasters Row. Look for it there. Come back next week for the Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling beats us.